Is this the end of Halo? Phil Spencer says, hey man, let's just get back to the games. And there's a new face of Xbox, and you may not like it. Let's discuss. We're back with another weekend edition of Xbox Ready. I'm joined once again by frontman for the Ghostface Killers, Jimmy Champagne.
Yeah, Ray, I saw your clip from The Witcher 3 where you triple beheaded those guys.
Something like that has never happened to me in that game. This is like my 5th playthrough of it. Yeah, if you want to check out the full thing, head on over to my Twitter at State of Ray. I shared the clip of that next-gen Witcher version, and it's exactly like Jimmy says. I whipped out the Witcher skills for this triple kill.
Not safe for YouTube. What's the Xbox news today?
So much news. I can hardly contain them in 3 videos a week. Can you believe it?
I can believe it because I make the same videos.
First up, I want to get your opinion on this Phil Spencer interview that he just did. He's saying that developers are brave to continue doing their work in this age of cancellation.
I get that. I understand that.
Yeah, he says, as world builders, our greatest responsibility is to inspire and invite joy. Goes on to say, it feels like today, seeking joy is an act of defiance. All of us here today, all of our teams around the globe, we are all a part of creating this echo effect of joy. Our creators who bravely and intentionally release their visions to the world, particularly in the current culture of criticism and cancellation. Our players who bravely, intentionally carve out time for our games to invite, rest, and rejuvenate their lives, and business leaders. We are called upon to have the courage to protect and nurture this collective joy. So guys, just by playing video games, you are brave. You are taking a stand.
That's a bit much. I think it's just like cool to have entertainment stuff.
Obviously, we live in an age where it's like games, we hear about them all the time, and sometimes we hear about them years in advance, and then sometimes they never come out. Like I was just talking about Scalebound in the last video.
6 Days in Fallujah, that
all
was supposed to be out in December. Stopped hearing about that one after a while.
They just never come out.
Because it got canceled, so, you know.
These developers, they work so hard on this game, sometimes like 6 years almost. Plugging away, and then all of a sudden,
if a game is like so out of pocket, like I understand being upset about it, but a lot of times the game's not even out and people have already decided that it's like horrible or like not worth picking up. And I hate that because it's not fair to punish these people who like their bonus structure or their future jobs are all hinging on these games selling, and people are coming up with like wild reasons not to pick up a video game, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the other part of what he was saying here is like people are so quick to just dogpile on any given title. I mean, we definitely saw this on the PlayStation side when Last of Us 2 came out, went down as like the most awarded game of all time. So many people enjoyed it. Lots of people freaking hated it before it came out because of the leaks of that
and
one
a lot
big
of the
plot
leaks
point.
Were wrong. You could tell who played the game and who didn't by what leaks they're using as a reason in 2023 to not like the game. There's stuff that they still say that's just not true.
It's happened a couple of times to Redfall, where it's like people have leaked like pre-alpha footage of that game, and they were like, look at how crappy this game looks. And it's like, whoa, dude, like these people are just doing their jobs. All of a sudden, the screenshot of a like way old screenshot of their work surfaces on the internet, and all of a sudden people are just like dogpiling on it, man, for clout, for the internet points.
Yeah, the fanboyism sucks.
Video games, you get on and you play with other people, and sometimes it can be toxic, but a lot of the times they bring people together. I believe that, at least. Like video games have exposed me to people I never would have met before and who have become really good friends of mine. Definitely, like, our paths would not have crossed if like I wasn't into gaming. And
if you weren't a gamer.
Yeah. Phil Spencer. Yeah,
Good Dude Award from the Ready channels.
So there's been some articles floating around about Starfield, but not for the reason that you may think. Starfield, it's looking like it's becoming the new face of Xbox, at least for the short term, over Halo and Master Chief.
I saw that they replaced the Master Chief Halo Infinite art on the Series X box with the Starfield like box art now. When you go buy a Series X at the store, it's Starfield being advertised to you with the Power Your Dreams text instead of Halo Infinite, which is kind of crazy. And it'll make more sense in a little bit, but not having Master Chief on the box anymore is nuts.
Yeah, apparently those screenshots came from Xbox Series X boxes from China. So I don't know how like widespread.
I bet that'll make its way, because that's what we see with PlayStation. Something will happen in another country, like this new bundle that is being sold in Australia where you get 2 DualSense controllers with your PS5, and now that's coming over here. a couple months later.
We know that Starfield is going to be the big game for Xbox. For sure for 2023, maybe for like the next couple of years, it'll be like the big juggernaut of a game. It's the first like Bethesda RPG that they've released since the acquisition. Lots riding on this game. It's their first new IP. Like we've seen a bunch of Elder Scrolls game, a bunch of Fallout games, but not like a new world, a new like thing to explore. So,
I am really excited for this game just because I know it's the game Todd Howard has always wanted to make. I like the way the combat itself looked. I like the art style. I hope it runs well when it comes out. It's going to be pretty cool if they polish it up, and it looks like that's what all these delays are for. I understand why it's become the flagship, because if you look at something like Fallout 4 or even Oblivion or Skyrim, like those were like genre defining and generation defining games, all of them. I just hope the story is better than Fallout 4's story, because Fallout 4 has a terrible story.
But like on one end, it's kind of crazy because Master Chief is what started the Xbox brand. He's a proven commodity over all of the different generations, and Starfield is his new kid on the block. We don't even really know like too much until they do like the new dedicated developer direct towards it, what it's really about, you know, a lot of the mechanics.
I mean, look at what you're looking at though. Like you've got a game like Halo, which came out, it was a mess. The campaign was like cobbled together at the last minute. It came out pretty good. It was fun, but like you could tell it was messy, and they kept promising like, oh, it'll get better with DLC. The DLC probably isn't going to happen. The multiplayer is full of free-to-play garbage and hasn't been updated at all really with new maps or like new content. Their seasons take forever compared to Starfield, which is going to be like a Bethesda Game Studios open world RPG, single player, all the content's already in the game. It'll get expansions down the line. They're two completely different games, and one is what I think people want to buy a console for more than the other. They like took Halo off in a direction it didn't need to go.
Now hold on, I'm still having fun with Halo, which I know at this point is a very controversial opinion. I thought the winter update was pretty solid, and Forge mode is back in, so people are having fun with that
and
too.
And those teams are still good, right?
Yeah, those teams are still good. They still have like the battle royale coming, sort of. I think Certain Affinity is still working on that sort of.
But I think like the 2.0 of multiplayer, right? Like that's where it's going to get good.
I think you make a good point though. Which one is the system seller? And right now, at this point, it's not Halo Infinite, unfortunately.
Because you can play Halo Infinite on your Xbox One.
Are you buying that Series X or Series S to experience the new Bethesda RPG? That's a good point that you bring up. Speaking of Halo, have you heard about all of these layoffs going on at Microsoft?
Oh my God, like 10,000 people? That's crazy.
10,000 people. A lot of people. It's less than 5% of Microsoft's total workforce. But then, 10,000 people out of a job. That's a huge bummer. You never like to see that. It's definitely something that's going on all over the tech industry. And I think you were just talking about the GameSpot.
Yeah, GameSpot
layoffs.
and Giant Bomb just lost a ton of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be happening everywhere. It's not the beginning, but it's not the end. Like this year's going to be ruthless with layoffs in all these different companies. I wouldn't be surprised if even Sony had some by the end of the year.
Yeah. I think they did a round of layoffs back in 2015 for Microsoft, something like 25,000. They did add a bunch of jobs in 2019, and now it seems like they're regressing back to the mean a little bit here.
Ubisoft's going to lay off a ton of people.
Ubi?
Yeah,
Ubisoft?
Yeah,
not those guys.
We talked about this last week, right? Yves Guillemot or whatever, the CEO, had to apologize for saying the ball's in your court to all the people who work there. He was like, Ubisoft games haven't been selling. I guess they had 12 Battle Royale games in development at one point. They also just canceled 3 unannounced games. They canceled 1 announced game. And then he was like, everyone who works here, the ball's in your court to like fix Ubisoft. And it's like, what are you talking about?
It's like, how about some leadership, bro?
And then he apologized because he did like a Q&A with like employees, and they were like, why are we like chasing every trend instead of setting them? Like every open world game just copies our games now. Now we're behind. And he was like, good point. So it's make it or break it for Ubisoft. It's really make or break for Xbox, I think, at this point, with like all these games they have in development. There's this situation that Redfall reminds me of where Halo Wars 2 was like one of the big games for the Xbox One, not because it was like a huge game. It is Halo, but it's like it's an RTS, it's like an offshoot studio. I'd call it like a AA game really, but it was because the Xbox ecosystem was so content starved at that point that people were like, yes, a new first party Xbox game, and they built up these expectations in their head that the game could never meet. I hope that doesn't happen with Redfall. you know, like.
Well, I think Redfall, the studio behind it, their pedigree speaks for itself.
Right.
And I think they're a little bit ahead of Halo 2.
Like, Dishonored 1 sold well.
If they ship out the other stuff they're supposed to ship out before Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Motorsport, at least.
Forza Motorsport, that game's got potential, I think. Like, just looking at how poor the launch was for GT7 and how many, like, sales that game still has, I think Forza Motorsport could come out and be, like, a good game and still sell really well.
Sell pretty well.
People are hyped for that.
Apparently, these layoffs hit 343 very, very hard. And that's got me thinking, like, the whole Jason Schreier thread, he'd mentioned that there were layoffs at Bethesda, but it seemed to focus mostly on, like, okay, something is going on at 343, the guys behind Halo. And it's got me thinking, like, what is, like, the new direction? Because, like you were saying, they had their fair share of struggles already. Then they get hit with these layoffs. What's the next move? Like, are they going to continue with, like, this Halo Infinite is a 10-year game? Or are they going to move on from Infinite? Are they going to give it to another studio? I know a lot of people are hungry to maybe see, like, id make a game, take their spin on Halo.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
I don't want that. See, I like that idea. I like that thinking, but it's kind of like what Warner Brothers did with every horror director, right? Like, every horror director who had a good, like, Conjuring movie or Conjuring spinoff or Lights Out, they all ended up directing superhero movies for Warner Brothers, and then they get in that churn where they can never get out of that, like, superhero pipeline. And the same thing's happening with video games now, where, like, Insomniac's making Spider-Man. Thankfully, Insomniac is making multiple games, which is good. But then you've got Monolith, the people behind the Shadow of War series, Shadow of Mordor. They're making a Wonder Woman game, and it's like, yeah, it's cool to see these IP games, but, like, it has Doom, it has Quake, like, it has, like, a lot of different series that people want to see come back. And if they take on Halo, that's like a flagship franchise and could become like the Call of Duty of id, where they can never get out of that chain, you know, where they just have to keep making Halo games.
I see what you're saying, but it seems more and more
it's like someone else needs it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it seems more and more as Halo continues to age, or at least Infinite, that 343, like, it needs to be passed off to someone else. I'm not trying to hate, because I have never worked in game development. I don't know the struggles of working in that sector.
Right, but you're looking at it like, you don't keep rewarding someone who consistently screws up.
Yeah, it seems
going back
more
to Halo 4.
Yeah,
they started good.
They've had control over the franchise for a while now, and it's been up and down. It's like, there were some good things about Halo 4, but it wasn't like a runaway success. Halo 5, they went a little too crazy on, like, some of the stuff, and the campaign was like doo-doo. Even Infinite's campaign was better than Halo 5. They can't seem to get a good runaway hit, and it just seems to me like, is this the last Halo game that we're going to see from 343? And if that is so, what is the next step? But, like, they've also kind of written themselves into a hole a little bit with the Halo story, because they've essentially, like, reset it. Like, there's no Cortana anymore. The AI revolution is done. Yeah, it's like
I mean, all right, here's the positives. The person who took over for Bonnie Ross is the guy who caused the turnaround of Master Chief Collection. I don't know how to say it. I think it's good that Bonnie Ross is not the leader anymore, because everything bad about Halo happened under her watch. So just being, like, reasonable and fair there, that's what happened. The guy who took over for her is known for doing a really good thing. Like, Master Chief Collection, awesome. Another positive, they have a good story setup that they can use to move on now. So, like, that's nice to hear. Like, yeah, you're right. They need to pass it off. Like, they need to, like, take everything internal, stop using so many contract workers, get focused, and stop, like, doing 10 different things at once, you know?
Or maybe even, like, reel in the scale a little bit, you know? Instead of, like, a huge open Zeta Halo world, just a more, like, linear traditional Halo experience where it's, like, a few levels. It's like, you go through them. They're very methodical. They have these really, like, awesome moments that they have a lot of control of because of that linear design, rather than, like, these huge open worlds and, like, these huge, like, aspirations for multiplayer with the battle pass and stuff. Make Halo a pay-to-play game again, is what I would say.
The free-to-play multiplayer was a weird choice.
It's been around for forever, and when you come out with a new game in an established franchise, you have a delicate balance, a delicate line that you have to walk. It's like, you have to add in new stuff, but you can't change it too much, because you don't want to, like, make it not Halo, quote-unquote. But then, like, you don't want to get in a situation where it's like the Madden franchise, where it's like, this is just the same game with updated roster. Why am I buying this? Don't think they've quite figured it out just yet. And
I think they've had too much opportunity to figure it out, and you're right, they need to give it to someone else, or bring in, like, a support studio, like whoever the studio, I keep forgetting their name.
Certain Affinity. Like, they should have a bigger role.
They said their goal in 2023 is to become a AAA studio. So if they're kind of planning a mutiny here, right? Where they're like, we're going to make the battle royale, we're going to fix Halo. Let them take it over. Like at that point, like they can clearly, if it hits and lands, like they clearly know what they're doing with the franchise. Let them kind of build out from there.
For sure, 100%. But yeah, guys, that's all the news that me and Jimmy have to talk about today. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Xbox Ready. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at State of Ray as well, if you want to follow me there.